Howdy Megan time, we're here. Hi. What a runaround. Good morning. This wasn't the plan today. I was supposed to be carving today, but the printers have been bugging me about getting more paper. Okay, let's see. I gotta finish cooking. I gotta ignore the chat for a minute here. We're in the last stages of cooking it up. Okay, we're ready for it over there. I better turn the camera back. You see where we're going with this. If I can do this without spilling it all. Let's try. I'm sure I know what you're posting, talking about 3 liters of size going onto a computer keyboard. Nice. A little too hot, maybe, actually. It's okay. Have I ever tried wheat flour sizing? No. No, I'm not sure flour would be strong enough. This is glue. It really has to make the paper really, really strong. The paper today, it's for Kubota-san. It'll go to Kubota-san. Actually, I was late. I was supposed to do this yesterday because he is now waiting for the paper. It's for Ukiyo-e Heroes prints. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Ukiyo-e Heroes prints, and this is going to be the Flight of Fantasy. We're out again. I can't keep up with them. They're just popular. I can't keep up. We're out now. We don't have any more of the. What are we out of? Mario is down to the last 10 or something. We're completely out of the brand new one, the Super Strikes. That's waiting for scheduling again next week or something. We can't keep up with them. Great Wave. I don't even want to talk about the Great Wave. I don't even want to talk about it. Okay, we are ready to go, I think. Two things I forgot to do. Étonné. Back in 2 minutes. There's 2 things I still have to do. 1 second, please. Oh, sure. Okay, let's go. Also, maybe, I know this be a problem or not. Those of you who were on the stream a week or so ago, remember there was a problem with the microphone. We were getting just mono instead of stereo. One of my cables was no good. I meant to replace it, but I haven't got around to replacing it yet. So for the past few days, because I've been carving, I've just had the mic plugged directly into the camera. No extension cable. I forgot about getting the extension cable, but now today the camera is way over there, so there's no extension cable. So I've plugged the microphone, and the microphone is right here. So maybe I'll bang it, there'll be noise, I don't know how it's going to go. Let me know if it's a huge problem, I'll try and move it somewhere else. Alright, it's not a whole lot of work here today. We have 14 sheets in 2 dimensions. What it is, it's a large... The full sheets were like this. And we're cutting for Ukiyo-e Heroes, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to get 6 heroes. And actually this one, the paper's a bit too wide. So there's going to be 2 heroes prints from here. I'll have a strip of paper left over. About 8 centimeters wide or something. If anybody can use it for a project, you get a long thin print or something, let me know. Okay, I think I'm ready. Let's do this. I'll block the view for the first couple here because I got to get the brush sorted out just a minute. I'll leave it. I'll try and let you see what's going on, but the first couple here, I've got to fluff the brush up just a sec. Looks good. Looks smooth. Is 8 centimeters enough for chibi? Our chibis are 6.5 centimeters. I don't know what you guys have been making, but mine are 6.5. We usually make them double, so we need a 13 centimeter paper. Can someone explain to me what Dave is currently doing? Yes, it's one stage in the process. This is the raw paper from the maker. We can't use it in this state. It's just too weak. Before we can use it for printmaking, we have to coat it with glue. It sounds a bit funny, but this is a glue mixture that I'm using just to wipe over both sides of the paper. And once that's finished and dried, the paper is then strong and resilient enough to allow for traditional Japanese printmaking. And it's a sticky part of the process. It's a difficult part of the process because the glue mix, how much glue is in there, what temperature it is, how much I put in here, what the humidity is today, these are all important and very difficult to figure out. And I'm not a master of this by any means. We're struggling to get this right. So many variable factors. It used to be done by specific craftsmen. And that's all gone now, so we've got to try and figure out how to do it by ourselves. Is it rabbit skin glue? Maybe it's owl skin glue. I don't know. No, I know. What we heard was it's cows and horses. I guess it's bones and or skin and or collagen, ligaments, whatever. All, you know, different parts of these creatures that are not eaten. Mostly cow, I guess. I'm not really sure. We don't make it, of course. We buy the stuff. I think the owl is not so much a mascot of Mokuhankan, it's a mascot of the Twitch stream, I think, is what it seems to be. The owl conversations and the name and everything else came through Twitch more than anything else. So I think it's a mascot for this stream rather than a mascot for our business, I think. As far as the papers, we're just gluing them and stacking them up, and I'm going to do both sides. They don't stick to each other. It's a pretty weak mixture, you know. The glue itself, looks like this. It's in granular form when we get it. And I soaked it overnight and not boiled it up, but I cooked it up this morning into liquid form. And depending on how much we put in each liter of water, of course. It's pretty weak if I dip in and touch it. It feels like water. Just feels like water. I wouldn't be able to tell, except now it's getting a bit dry. Now it gets a tiny bit sticky. But this is not sticky like glue you glue wood with or something. It just feels like water. Says he, getting it all over his hands. Now it's a bit sticky. Whale bones? I don't think so. I think this is just normal domestic animals. It's cows and horses, I believe. Whatever, somebody could look it up. Go to Wikipedia and look up Nikawa. Wanikawa. W-A, Japan, and Nikawa. I'm 99% sure it's cows and horses. I don't think it could be whales. Okay, that's the 14 sheets of this size. Let's flip it over. Here's the back side. That was the front face of each sheet. This is now the back face. And we need less liquid on it. So the prints are not suitable for vegetarians or vegans. Where do you draw the line if you're a vegetarian? Eh? Consume nothing that uses animal products. Where do you draw your line? My paper, somebody's asking, is it a traditional Japanese process to dampen the paper? The paper has to be wet. We can't work on dry paper. It doesn't work. All of our printing, with 99% of it, with nearly no exceptions, all of our normal printing requires the paper to be moistened. It's that process of moistened paper on top of a block with the tool pressing from the back that pulls the pigment deep into the paper. We can't work on dry paper, period. You're talking about using this glue to make musical instruments and stuff, guitars. When I used to make guitars, it was a very similar kind of glue I used. And you use this glue to put the top on a guitar rather than a modern epoxy or something, because you have to be able to take the top off later. It's all a question of dilution. There's tons of water and not so much glue here, so it's very liquidy. If you want a glue that will bond stuff, you just mix it stronger. I think it's pretty much the same stuff. It's all about the dilution. Someone's asking about using watercolor paper for this Japanese printmaking. Matt Brown in America is doing that. Matt Brown's prints are all made on, I forget the name of it. Is it BF something? There's numbers. BFK Reeves or something like this. If you check his website, all his prints are made on that Western paper. He's damping it and printing it the same way we do it. Okay, that's the first 14 sheets done on both sides. It's a bit too soon to hang them. So, cover them up for a minute to stop drying too fast. Put them aside here. Playing with toys. What sort of guitars did I make? I for a while there, when I was, what was it? After I dropped out of university, I was not sure what to do with myself. I was 21, I guess 21 or 22. And I got a hold of a book. At that time it was called the Sloan book. I forget his name, somebody Sloan. He wrote a book about how his new system of making classical guitars. So I digested the book and I followed his instructions. I built all the forms and stuff for making classic guitars. And I made one first. And it was, I've still got it. It's up, where is it? It's upstairs in the Ome workshop, the first guitar I made. This will be back in 1972 or 73 or something. And it's clunky because I didn't follow the instructions carefully. I made the thing too thick, but it was good fun. So I made another one based on that experience with much thinner sides, thinner soundboard. It was a really nice guitar. Somebody bought it, so I thought, here we go with this. So I started making guitars. I put my shingle up, David Bull Luthier. This was in Delta back in Canada, Vancouver. And the third one was bought by a pro in town. It was a Cutaway Classic. He bought it. And then I made two more. I think I made 5 altogether. And then my parents and I talked about what the future life for me was going to be. So I ended up leaving home and going to England to start the flute career. A different story. So yeah, I made 5 guitars in all back in that time. One I still have. The other 4 are out in the world. Okay, let's keep going. David, don't ramble. To work. Put in a narrower brush for this one. I've got no time to wash the big brush right now, and if I just leave it, it'll go rock hard. So it's got to go into hot water. I'll wash up when I'm finished at the end, but if I just left that sitting there now. Where can I buy these Dave Bull guitars? I would love, there's 4 of them out there in the world, somewhere. They've got a little label inside that says David Bull Luthier, Delta, British Columbia. And there's 4 of them. One of them is a Cutaway Classic, and the other 3 are just normal classics. And I would give my right leg to see and to have and to touch and to hold one of those now. They've got a label inside, so I guess they must be out there somewhere. Somebody's closet, at the back of somebody's closet. The pro who bought the third one, I tried after Google came up years ago. So this would be like 10, 15 next years ago. I don't even remember. I tried Googling the guy to try and find him, to get in touch with him. Hey, can I see your guitar? Or, can I have a look? How's it doing? Did it work out for you? I couldn't find the guy's name. His name was Ray Moga, R-A-Y and M-O-G-A, Moga. He was a classical guitar player, a studio guitar player in Vancouver, BC in the 1970s. Ray Moga. The left leg. Well, I was going to say right nut. I just changed my mind at the last moment there. So, anyway, to work. What time is it? 8:30. I think we're okay. Dave Bull guitars. Can you imagine if one of those came up now? I'd love that. Anyway. Okay. This brush is quite a different feel, It's got beautiful, beautiful long hairs. It holds much more liquid. I have to be really careful because it's got so much liquid in it. When I hit here, it dumps too much. So I really, really have to be careful. The other one that we made, I would like it to have such long hair, but we cannot find them. We've tried and tried and tried. Crowdsource, go for it. Ray Moga, Ray, M-O-G-A, Vancouver, 1970s, studio guitar player. I'd buy that guitar back from him. I'd pay him double what he paid me for it at that price. Too much. Even after warning myself, it's still too much water. The BBC baby announcement. Come on, guys, give me a break. That is never going to turn up. Period. Concentrate. Better. It's funny, those guitars, my memory is that they're kind of nice, they're kind of cool, but who knows, this was a kid trying to do something by himself. If I had one of those guitars to see now, it might be embarrassing, I don't know, whatever. No, it's no good asking the BBC about it. They don't. They don't do that at all. They didn't in those days. This was simply a radio broadcast. BBC sent stuff out into the air. This is 1950s. Nobody was archiving anything. It was the early days of live broadcasts. It just went out into the air and that was it. Nothing from those days is archived. The only possible way things got recorded back then is because there were hobby people who were trying to record, with these little wire recorders and stuff like this. So nothing was archived by the BBC. What we have left over from those eras is the hobby recordings. People were sitting there in their nighttime bedrooms with headphones and wire recorders trying to play with recording. And the chance that that particular program would have been recorded that way is very, very slim. If my mother's in the chat here today, I don't know, she's probably wondering what the hell I'm talking about. So I think we brought that up before she was a visitor here. Mom is listening. Okay, okay. Did you get what we were talking about? The reference to the BBC. I had mentioned on the stream one day the story that you told me, that when you were in the hospital after I was born, the nurses bring it to me, whatever. Dad was out with the band doing a BBC broadcast that night. And you've told me that during the program that evening, the announcer says, "We got some news from the band. One of the band members just had a baby boy. His wife just had a baby boy today. Thank you to Roy Bull for his new son, David Bull." This is the story that you told me, years ago. So people are trying to find this broadcast if it was recorded once upon a time, back in November of 1951. So. I guess maybe even there, when Mum was in the hospital for that, the nurses and stuff, I think they had a patient there who was sort of semi-famous, because in those days, those dance bands, they were the rock and roll bands of their day. And the band my dad was in, the Oscar Rabin Band, that was a popular band. It was a big deal. And he wasn't personally a famous musician like the Elvis Presley type of stuff, but he was a member of a band that was one of the big musical organizations of its day. He was in that band. It would have been from the late 1940s, post-war, right through to about 1957. I was born just in the middle of that period, 1951. And the band was going up and down the length of England in a bus, playing in dance halls every night, and then doing radio broadcasts when they were back in London. And they had a residency in a big theatre in Leicester Square in London all through the middle 50s. It was a big deal. They were famous musicians. They were the pop musicians of their day. Yeah, look at this. The staff were very impressed. So cool, man. It's too bad there was no YouTube and audio and recording and stuff from those days. It would be so much fun to see that. But the band's name was the Oscar Rabin Orchestra or Oscar Rabin Band. It would have taken different names at some parts. Oscar as in Oscar and Rabin as in R-A-B-I-N, Rabin. And that particular band was most famous in the pre-war period. It was then what was called a dance band in the 1930s and 40s. That's before my dad joined them. He was born in 27, so he was a post-war member of that band. So it's quite common now to find Oscar Rabin recordings out there on 78s and stuff, but most of them are from the pre-war group. It's hard to find recordings of the band in the post-war period when he was a member. He was a baritone sax player with the band, and he did some vocals. My brother, I think, has a few of the old records, one including my dad doing a vocal quartet with the band. Was Mom a groupie? You'll have to ask her. She's here. No, she knew him before he was in the band. She knew him long before. My parents knew each other since they were like 13 or 14 years old. The wiki page on the Oscar Rabin Band talks about Roy Bull. That's my dad, of course. There's a few references on the net to my dad. No groupie. Dad and I were friends from being children. Yes, of course. About 12 or 13 years old. They were working together. This is during the war, Nate, when they were kids. It was about, they must have met each other in around 1940. They were born in 1927. So when 1940, the war was on. The kids didn't go to school. I mean, that's it. They were middle school age, but bang, out of school, into the factory. And my mother and father both worked in a place that made uniforms, wartime uniforms. And they're busy making great coats and sewing and cutting and doing all the things you did in a wartime factory. So they met each other in that factory and were together for pretty much 75 years. November 29th. My birthday's 11th, so if that broadcast was right there, I was born on November 11th, so that's when that would have happened. November 11th, 51. Chat's gone silent. Everybody's Googling my dad. Which I just see I've got the wrong scroller running here today. Sorry about that. Dave just came back, it says. I didn't go anywhere. What do you mean? It wouldn't have said, the guitar wouldn't have said Dave Bull inside. It would have said David Bull. Absolutely. That was a bit of a formal label, I'm sure it didn't say Dave. I'm sure it said David Bull Luthier. And it might have said Delta, British Columbia, or it might have said Ladner, British Columbia, because the little town we lived in changed its legal name at one point. And at the time I was making those guitars, it would have been 1970, I guess. I don't remember exactly. At the time I was making the guitars, I don't know what the name of the town was, so it would either be David Bull, Luthier, Ladner, British Columbia, or perhaps Delta, British Columbia. I don't remember. My family, most of the family is over in Canada. My mother still lives in Canada, and my two daughters are there in Vancouver, and my grandchildren, and the new grandchild that's going to be born any day now, that's all Vancouver. My sister is there. The only outliers are me and my brother. My brother lives in Germany, and I live in Japan, so we're the ones who are out and around. This is coming out nicely today, you know, nice and smooth. This is a beautiful, beautiful brush. My poor mother never gets to see her sons. We talk daily on Skype. Look at this. My brother phones her every day and she watches me every day. Good grief. Considering we live on the other side of the world, there's an immense amount of contact. So asking, what would you recommend to somebody who's interested in taking up woodblock printmaking? Please look for the fan stream, the fan page that's connected with this stream. The people there can give you lots and lots of advice. Picture of Ray Moga. No way, really? I can't stop now, but yeah. Oh yeah, Soka. The mention my mother posted in just now about the Ladner and Delta. At that time those changes were going on. She was working at the post office in that place. And when I was a kid, I collected stamps. The big stamp collection, it's in the basement somewhere at home, somewhere now. I have no idea where it is. But my mother was working in the post office at the time they changed the town name. So she was the one, or somebody working right side by side with her, they were the ones who had to change the little thing, take out the old name Ladner and put in the new name Delta. So what she did was, she prepared a couple of stamped envelopes. There she is, she stamped the last one Ladner, then they changed the thing to Delta, she stamped it Delta. So part of my collection has the last one of the old name and the first one of the new name. That's what she's posted about just now. Here we are, BBC Home Service, 1951, 1111. This is the BBC listings for this day. Hey, Mom, you're in here, right? So was the comment about Oscar Rabin's musician having a baby, was it that same day? Was it the next day? Tell us more about this. Now I've got a problem. Have I done this sheet or not? No. Look at this. I'm ignoring the work, you know, just on autopilot. This is not good. Too many questions. Somebody's asking, where is my brother living? He's in a town called Bochum. How's my pronunciation? Actually, he said, whenever I'm chatting with somebody from Germany, he said, if you tell them where I live, the town, Bochum, and you tell them that I'm a theater musician, then they will know where I work. And actually, I've tested this on people in the shop. People come from Germany and I chat about this, blah, 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 blah. So here, my mom is saying it was a couple of days old. So people looking for the BBC, it could be the 11th or the 12th or the 13th, whatever. I don't know. She's saying I was a couple of days old. So keep your searching. Okay, now, those of you who've watched me do stream here, the sizing, you know what's going to happen next. I have to go to the next room to hang this up. And I can't move all the camera in one piece. What we're doing, I'll turn this just to show you what's going on. I'm going to move now into the next room down there. And I can't move the camera as it stands here with the stream live. So I'm going to shut this down. Oops. I'm going to shut this down and come back in about 5 minutes. This is whatever time it takes me to move all the gear. Oscar Rabin is here. Somebody's finding it. Look at this. I can't do this. I've got to keep working. So I'm going to keep the stream running, but I'm going to unplug the camera, take it to the next room, try and plug it all together. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I have to restart. So don't panic if the stream goes down. It will come back up. In the meantime, I've got to get busy moving stuff. So you're on your own for the next little while here. plastic bag. I don't have another plastic bag. Where are we? I need this, I need this. This is not going to work, but let's try it, whatever. I'm getting a seasick, sorry about that. Oops. Are we still live? Really? Is it holding on? It's not going to reach. Sopka. Look at this. If it's a miracle, if it's going to hold on all the way. It did seem to crash, so this seems, it's not Apple products, it's the cable. And I think the only way to do that, the only way to get it back up and running is I've got to stop the broadcast and restart the broadcast. So no way around it. I'm going to shut the stream, the chat should keep going, but the visual broadcast is going to stop and restart. Let's give it a shot. See you in a minute.